it is. Hi guys, and welcome to a quick little vlog. So yesterday I saw the Star Wars Episode 7 film, and needless to say this vlog is going to have many spoilers, so if you are not interested in those spoilers and you haven't seen the film, then I highly suggest that you stop watching this video right now and have a good day. Otherwise, stay tuned and I'll give you a few minutes of my feedback regarding the film, and I'd like to hear what you guys thought about it as well. Just kind of gauging what the community thought as well. So, the film is definitely very good, in my opinion. It needs some work. Not that you can actually reiterate it unless George Lucas comes back maybe in the future and does another version of it. We'll have to wait and see until the three films are done. But compared to the prequels, definitely impressive. I should preface this actually with just saying that a few days beforehand, I've been watching all the 6 Star Wars films that currently exist in chronological order. So beginning with the prequels onto the originals. And yeah, the first 2 prequels, the thing I like the most about the prequels is really the concepts, such as sort of like the art, the style, and sort of like the characters and ships and mechanical things about it that they created. Otherwise, the storyline is obviously a little bit bland, but the third film definitely kicks it up a notch, and I kind of comparing this to that then. I'm kind of comparing this to the third film, even though there's a lot of references to the original films in this Star Wars 7. The feels like the fights were all very good, sort of like the battle scenes and stuff like that between sort of like the space fights and on the ground. That was very entertaining. As for the lightsaber fights, they weren't quite as flashy, but then again, I think they overdid it with the CGI, didn't they, with the prequels, which is what people didn't like so much. It had more of a real flow to it in terms of the lightsaber fights that I'm referring to more. And if you've seen the film, then there's several of them that occur. And I did, I didn't like how they fought with the lightsabers, but the one promise is that, again, this is all spoilers, so you shouldn't really be watching if you're interested in that, but towards the end of the film, there's this premise that Snoke, I think it's Snoke or Snope, is the main bad guy, is like, well, we need to bring back Kylo Ren to me, and we need to finish his training. And then obviously Leia finds Luke at the end, which is what the whole film is about, basically trying to find Luke Skywalker, who's most likely going to be her dad. Let me know what you think about that, but it's probably going to be her daddy, since she's so good with the lightsaber and the Force and all of that. Such a natural, and he was like one of the best, if not the best. So, yeah, I'm interested in seeing them develop. So I suppose they can't go all out and be amazing in the first film. So it shows that they could do some training in the next film and develop them from that point onwards. But otherwise, Kylo Ren wasn't really much of a swordsman, was he really? Let's refer to it as swords because that's basically what it is. It's knights. Space knights is what Star Wars is. Space knights meets the Wild Wild West. Yeah, I thought, why are you losing this? You shouldn't be losing. I mean, they kind of made an emphasis on him having that injury, which, to be fair, probably should have killed him, if anything. Like that crossbow was whacking people left, right, and center, like sending them flying. And if he gets hit by it, well, he hasn't even got anywhere near as much armor, according to what it looks like, compared to stormtroopers, then he's just like he's still able to maneuver and fight. So I suppose you could kind of give it that, but even then, I still think he would. He seemed very good with the Force, and she's only just learning. She's picking up the tricks literally within the same day she's escaping. So this guy's obviously been training for, I mean, he might not be fully trained, but he's got to be fucking trained for a long time, seeing as Han Solo and Leia lost their son many years ago, which was referred to. So he's obviously been training for quite a while and turned. So I was a bit disappointed in sort of like the fights in that sense, but let me know if I'm wrong about that. As for the characters, Daisy Ridley, who plays Rey, who is basically, she's Princess, no, she's Luke Skywalker's daughter, in my opinion, since Adam Driver, who is Kylo Ren, the bad guy, is Han Solo and Leia's son. So he gets the Force from his grandfather, which is Darth Vader, and Rey probably gets the Force from Luke, which will make sense if they try to go down that road, because again, it sort of like makes it all interconnect very nicely. And she's fantastic. I really enjoyed her performance. Seemed a little overly aggressive, but I suppose if she was a slave for that long, she would be. I don't understand why she had to go back to the planet. Oh no, yeah, she wanted to go back to Jakku despite everything, even in the end, because I think she was waiting to be picked up by her parents again, which would probably Luke, and so on forth. We dropped you off on that planet because we couldn't let the Force know, or the bad guys know, that you existed. It's the same deal as what they did with the prequels, which is what kind of, when I watched this film, I was seeing basically the first three films be made again. You kind of seeing elements be reused a lot. So like I was saying, there was references to the first film, and watching this, they were almost taking elements out of those films again as the characters developed, but it was still very good. Yeah, she did a fantastic job, and I think she'll be great as one of the main leads. As for the other main male lead, John Boyega, who plays Finn, was actually fantastic. Mostly because I was so disappointed in the trailers of what they showed of him. This guy just basically looking knackered, scared, and just panicky all the time. He was just like, and every single trailer is just like, oh god, this guy looks pathetic. And for the first 15 to 20 minutes of the film, he kind of is that. But after that, he really gets to develop his character. He still stays in that role where he's trying to flee from like the bad guys, because he's basically has fled from them. He used to be one of them, and now he wants to stay as far away from them as possible. And he still sticks to that character, but he does it in a much more subtle way, where he's just not as over the top, like panicky, heavy, deep breathing and all of that all the time. It's like, I still want to get away from these guys. I don't want any, business with these guys or anything that's going to get me into trouble with them. He's still conflicted with that, but at the same time, he sort of grows to like Rey a lot and realizes that to be this good guy that he wants to be, and not the bad guys that they tried to make him be, he's got to put himself in that harm's way. And that really takes off, I think, about 20 to 25 minutes into the film onwards. So if you can put up with the first 20 or so minutes of him basically looking like a panicky, 10-year-old schoolgirl or something like that, he gets really good as the film goes on. I think he's going to be fantastic in the next lot of films. So I'm really pleased with that. He had a really good sort of like, I don't know, sort of flow between him and Han Solo, who is actually, obviously Harrison Ford. He was in this film. He was in it actually a lot more than I was expecting. And yeah, I was actually very, very pleased to see him in it, because not only did he not phone it in, which he has done in basically all of his films in like the last 10 or so years, we're just like, oh, I'm a grumpy old man. I can't be bothered to act anymore. He actually tried a little bit, and because I've seen the films, the 6 films all in a row, like practically, I sort of like was seeing what he was reflecting back from his past. So he was actually playing his character of Han Solo quite a lot in this one. He's still like old Harrison Ford now, so you can't not see that. But at the same time, you're like, oh yeah, I remember how he kind of like, flicked his head that way or said this line in a certain manner, and it was very reminiscent of those first films. So it was actually very good to see, and he did a really good job actually in his role. So it's pleasing to see him not sort of phone it in again, which is just as well, because he would get slated if he did that once more. Like, yeah, he's done it in a lot of films. You'll know what I mean. Have you seen any of them? Expendables 3 maybe. So yeah, we'll move. Oh, well, I suppose I should get onto that in the major spoiler, which was obvious. Now, let me know first of all, did you see this coming or not? And if you did, at what point did you see this coming? That Han Solo was going to die. Yes. The moment I saw that bridge was the moment I knew he was going to die. He was basically confronting his son, trying to pull him out of this situation that his son had found himself in and take him back home to Leia and to live a normal life. And I saw Kylo Ren sort of like walking down this bridge. I'm like, well, why are you going down that bridge? You could have walked around the other way. I mean, what are you even going down there for in the first place? Oh, it's setting up for obviously some sort of epic scene. But they don't do scenes like that in movies anymore, because obviously I'm like 31 years old now, so I've watched quite a lot of movies, and I think as time goes on, I'm just going to get more and more jaded. You can kind of spot these things. You just look for the scenery and stuff like that, the setup and the bridge. It's like, come on. Someone is going to die and fall off that bridge, and I don't think it's going to be Kylo Ren. I think it's much more likely to be Han Solo, because he's done a fantastic job in this film. He served his part. It's much more likely that they're going to want to let the characters develop into the next lot of films, so they'll let him die off so they can become their own characters, and then we can grow to love them rather than him taking all the credit again. So yeah, he was gonna go. And it was a good moment though, to be fair. I mean, Adam Driver, who plays Kylo Ren, he gave up way too easy. He's like, oh, I want to quit. And yeah, that was already super suspicious, because Harrison Ford, or Han Solo hadn't even said that much to him at that point. And then the best bit was basically when he hands over like the lightsaber, but then he sort of grips it, and you just know, okay, you are fucked now. Basically, you can't take that lightsaber off him, and you're in close quarters. You've not got a weapon. You're on a bridge that basically falls down to like a 10,000 full drop or whatever the hell it is. You're screwed. So yeah, that was rough to see, poor Chewie. But he seemed kind of over it by the end of the film, Chewie, so I think he got over it. And yeah, Princess Leia, she was also in it. She did okay. Like, uh, she's obviously had problems, I think, in real life and stuff like that. So it's nice to see her and stuff like that. But there wasn't anything memorable from her. As for Oscar Isaac, who plays Poe Dameron, yeah, I really liked his character. Not very much at the start. I thought, oh, this guy's a bit sort of like a douchebag at the very first start. But then he started to grow on me as the film went on. And this is an issue I have actually with watching trailers. I almost always try to avoid them, but you kind of can't avoid the Star Wars ones. You see things in the trailers that then allow you to know what's going to happen in the film as you're watching the film. So, for example, Kylo Ren, there's a bit in the trailer where he meets up with Poe outside sort of like the military fortress base that they have on some sort of greenish planet before they go off and attack sort of like the Death Star. And that's much later on in the film, whereas near the start of the film, he apparently dies. But it's like, well, I know that happens in the trailer, so he clearly hasn't died. And he stays away for a long time. They don't really explain exactly how he got off the planet and all this kind of stuff, so they kind of skim over that so they can develop Finn and, you know, Rey a little bit more, which is fine. But yeah, he played a fair enough role, I think, in it. And obviously he's a cohort, I suppose. The BB-8, the little robot. Let me know what you guys think about that. I think he was much more apt for this film because the characters were having to run a lot faster than they did in the prequels. If you think how R2-D2, even in the prequels, like the stormtroopers were firing and stuff like that, and they were always missing, and R2-D2 is just like slowly moving back and forth. You can't really get away with that these days. So they had to obviously make him a bit more mobile. Although he was super fast in some moments where he chases after Rey, who goes off into the forest panicking because she doesn't want to become basically you know, a Jedi. As she gets those flashbacks, she wants to run away from it, and she has a long time running away, and then this robot somehow manages to catch up with her within a split second. Yet there's other moments where he's kind of trailing behind when he's following. So yeah, I like the robot, but the real question is how did he get back up those stairs? And I think you know what I'm talking about. And if you don't, it's halfway through the film where they go to that kind of like almost underground rebel base full of weird aliens and stuff like that, where the woman with the thick glasses and that sort of like looks after them, and they go down those stairs, which is where Rey finds the lightsaber. And yeah, did he? Well, we came up with a solution with the family that he used the grappling hooks to claw his way back up. But I would just think he must get a lot of bills due to the amount of maintenance damage he causes to all of the environments that he goes around. Anywhere that he has to traverse that he can't go up or down, he obviously uses these grappling hooks, which like fire off metal beams that sort of like poke and claw into the walls. So you imagine how much damage that would cause. I wouldn't be happy with that little thing coming around this house, going up my stairs. The house would be trashed. So yeah, the little robot was cool. As for everyone else in it, well, the stormtroopers and stuff like that, they were cool enough. They kind of fit the bill. As for the silver female ones, I don't really get what their role was, other than sort of like being more dominant, apparently. But were they all female? And if they were all female, why? Are they a special cloned version of some superior sort of female that's much stronger and better? I don't know. And then you've obviously got the other stormtroopers that some of them had like a red shoulder pad and others had a black shoulder pad, and those ones seem to be the ones in charge, but I don't know what the difference was between the red and black. So if anyone has any ideas, then feel free to let me know on that one. Otherwise, overall for the film, worth watching. I'll give it an 8 out of 10 if I was to give it anything, because that's quite high, I would say. But that's mostly because it was a good film. But I think they need to work on the bad guys a little bit more. They were a little bit, as they have been in the previous films, a little bit one-dimensional. Like everything must die, 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 die. There is no sort of like light and dark. There is only dark, which kind of makes sense because of the dark side. But at the same time, there's no character development, you need conflictions and stuff like that. They were a little bit too, oh, this is so easy just to kill everyone and not even think about it, where Finn comes in. Because he obviously conflicts, but no one else conflicts. Not even one other person conflicts. They're all 100%, I will kill you without even thinking about it. Red is dead. I don't like that so much. So, yeah, it kind of fits the villainous sort of like era of it. As for the one other thing I want to get onto, what's the deal with the main bad guy, Snoke, being a cross between Gollum and the Pale Orc from The Hobbit? Anyone else see that? He is basically, you take those two characters, you take Gollum, you take the Pale Orc, and you just sort of do this shift where they sort of like blend in together. I said, why is he CGI? Why isn't he some guy wearing a mask or something like that? He was heavily CGI'd. I think that was a mistake, to be honest, because were they trying to make him look more badass than he was? You could still make him look like a badass just wearing a mask or just being some human guy with some cool costume. So I don't know where they're going to go with the rest of the films being that CGI'd. Like, when they actually have to end up fighting him, maybe, if they ever do that? He's just going to be some huge CGI guy? I don't know. I wasn't... He seemed okay. I think they could have done a better job with the main bad guy. I don't know how the stories were written, though, to be honest with you, but I've blabbed on long enough. I intended to do this for only a few minutes, so, yeah, you can see what happens. But let me know what you think of the film and the little issues with it. There's one actual little issue now that I say that. The movie had a lot of movie logic where things have to happen quickly to keep the film moving, but obviously couldn't realistically happen in life because there's this moment where Finn gets grabbed by one of those, let's call them Ravagers, I can't remember what they were called, but these giant sort of like horrible monsters that can grab you and travel really fast down these little corridors and stuff like that. And it grabs Finn, so why didn't it kill him? Probably because it was so full up from killing all the others and eating them. But anyway, it grabs him anyway and goes off miles away. And then Rey looks on the computer, sees him, and follows him on the computer, basically being dragged further and further and further away. And then she manages to close the doors, chopping off some of its tentacles, freeing Finn. Finn then proceeds to take about 5 seconds or so to get the tentacles off of him, and Rey's caught up with him within those 5 seconds. How? I don't know. Maybe you know. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Take care, and let me know what you think. Bye bye.